Tonight, a major development that could determine the winner of the White House. And this is in Michigan. The Secretary of State in Michigan is confirming to CNN that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. will be on the presidential ballot in that battleground state. Now, Kennedy tells me he will be on the ballot in every state. But formally crossing the line in Michigan, dotting the I's, crossing the T's is crucial. President Biden won the state by a little bit more than 154,000 votes in 2020. And Kennedy's support in Michigan this time around right now is surging. 18% of Michigan's registered voters in a recent poll support Kennedy. 18%. 34% say Biden and 40% support former President Trump. You can all see those numbers in front of us in black and white. It comes as members of the Kennedy family, including 6 of RFK Jr.'s siblings, endorsed Biden, a show of force intended to underscore that many of the most well-known Kennedy family members reject RFK Jr.'s campaign. And out front now, Jessie Ventura, the former governor of Minnesota, who shocked the political establishment 25 years ago, sir, when you won as a third-party candidate. And Governor, I'm so glad to have the chance to talk to you. 25 years ago, it sure goes fast. You were sworn in, and yet here we are now entering a presidential election where a third-party candidate is playing a major role. No one's ever won at the presidential level, but playing a major role. Do you think that Kennedy has a real chance to win?
Well, who knows? I mean, when I ran, nobody gave me a chance back in 1998. And I'll tell you this, Aaron, I think that right now, I'm an individual. I don't have a big bunch of people behind me or none of that. But I'll tell you this. If I had ballot access in all 50 states and I were allowed to debate, I could beat these 2 major party candidates. They would be easier to beat than Attorney General Humphrey was and Mayor Norm Coleman was back in '98. And here's why. Humphrey and Coleman were not disliked. Nobody was not liking the election at all. This election, you got 2 major party candidates. Nobody even wants to see this election, let alone vote in it necessarily. And, I guarantee you, if I'd be the youngest candidate, that's for sure.
Well, that is for sure.
But, and my point is, my point is this. You in the media like to term things as spoilers. Third parties are not spoilers. When you go to vote and do your civic duty, you vote for the candidate or the person that you most want to be the president of the United States, irregardless of their party. If you go vote for the person you want as president, then you've done your civic duty. Where do we get off calling it spoiler because you don't vote Democrat or Republican? That's the media's way because they're locked in with the 2-party dictatorship, as my friend Ralph Nader used to call it. And voting third party does not make you a spoiler. In fact, it makes you a correct citizen because you're voting for who you want and not because you're voting for some party.
So right now, what would you do? Would you vote for RFK Jr.?
I don't know yet. RFK and I have our differences. He did, I met with him about the VP job. We met one evening for over 2 hours and discussed it. And I have all the admiration in the world for him. He has every right to run. And certainly he's probably going to get a lot of votes. He made a choice for vice president, and he'll ride that choice, be it good or bad. But I certainly respect the fact that he has the right to run, as does Cornel West, as does all the other candidates. The point is, this is America, and we should have more choices than just 2.
Well, you know what? Our system needs a lot of reform, and I think most sane and thoughtful people could agree with that. But I want to ask you about, you talk about how nobody, you said if you ran, not only would you be the youngest, but you could defeat Trump and Biden because people don't love them. Well, you do have a history with Donald Trump, and it's been a history that's gone through ups and downs, Governor, right? He considered running for president in 2000, all the way back then under the Reform Party, which obviously was your party, right? You'd won. You encouraged it at the time. Over the years, there have been, okay. There's been good things you've said about each other. I want to play that. I know that. Yeah.
Here's the problem, Aaron. Donald Trump of 2000 is not Donald Trump today. Plain and simple. Back then he was a Democrat and was pro-choice. Today he's ultra-right and anti-choice. You know, he ain't the same guy.
Well, you've actually called him a fascist now.
And the fact is, Donald Trump, because he changes, he doesn't ever tell the truth. So no, would I run with Trump? Absolutely not. Now, back then, we were a fledgling third party. We were looking for anything that could get us onto the map. That's what you've got to do as a third party, first and foremost. You've got to win elections, and you need candidates to do that. Well, you're not always going to pick the best candidates, just as Democrats and Republicans don't either. But let's move on to why I'm really here, Aaron. Cannabis.
All right, you were about. I was about to jump in and force you there, but you were going on. All right, so Governor, I know you're passionate about cannabis. It is how you spend your time. So can I ask you about this? Because you have put a lot of time into the effectiveness of medical marijuana, and I know the reason you've done this is because you say it saved your family's life. It stopped your wife's seizures. So you've dedicated yourself to this. Biden has moved to decriminalize it. Finally, it wasn't his initial thought, but he has done that and changed its federal classification in terms of its class, you know, how it's registered with the FDA. Is that enough? Is there enough being done on this?
No. Here's your problem with that. Who's making the decision here? The DEA. Well, they're the enforcement agency. How come the legislature, the Congress isn't making the decision? Why does it go to the DEA, the very people who profit from putting people in prison having drugs illegal? They're now the ones that make the final decision on what's going to happen with cannabis federally. So the point is this: more people like me who are stepping forward. I'm putting my face on marijuana. I've teamed up with Retro Bakery. It's called Ventura Farms, and I'm going to shamelessly plug it now. And for everybody out there, that will be the focus of Jessie Ventura's life, because it saved my life. My wife was having seizures, and our medicine couldn't help. Pharma did nothing. It couldn't help. Had to go illegally to Colorado at the time, 10 years ago, and get cannabis. My wife, since 3 drops under the tongue, has not had a seizure since. And what angers me is that the insurance companies will pay for all the pharma stuff that don't work, but they won't pay for cannabis, which does work.
Well, Governor, thank you very much. And I appreciate you sharing that story.
Aaron, I'll finish by saying this. We'll send you a care package. You won't have to have me on anymore. You can try it, and you'll sell it for me.
Governor, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much.
Okay, have a good one, Aaron.
All right.